Hello, my name is Ethan Hewlin. Like you, I live in a world that never stops moving. Also like you, I have stories. These are my stories, the true stories of a tryhard. Welcome back to True Stories of a Tryhard. I am Ethan Hewlin, and this week, it's just me. So, I have something very special in mind for this week, because it is the first week of 2020, as of recording. And most of us, if not all of us, start off the new year, or in this case, new decade, with the best of intentions. But more often than not, a lot of us fall short of what we want to accomplish. So, what I want to go over today are some ways that I've found that we can, as people, make our goals more achievable. Because, at least in my case, my ability to do or not do something successfully weighs on me very, very heavily. So let's jump right in. And some of you may be familiar with this particular method of outlining goals, but is the acronym SMART, S-M-A-R-T, which stands for Specific, Measurable, Achievable, Relevant, and Time-Bound. So I'm going to go through each of these and kind of give my thoughts on how you can achieve these. So let's start from the beginning. Very good place to start with specific. Specific means it's sensible, simple, and significant. So you don't want your goal to be too broad. Don't just say, I want to lose weight. Say, I want to lose 10 pounds or 25 pounds or however much you want to lose for this year. The second part of the acronym SMART is measurable. So measurable means that you can track it. Going back to the weight loss example, you're losing a certain amount of weight per month, for instance. So measurable goals should go into like the specifics of how will you know how many or how much. So the third part of that acronym, the A, means it is achievable. And so if it's achievable, means it's realistic. Like, you've already made it specific, you've already made it measurable, so it should be achievable or attainable, as some people might put it. So it should be within your current ability. Like, if you have to believe that you can do it, because that is really the most important part of keeping your goals, making sure your goals are achievable, is making sure they are within your means right now. So the next portion of that is the R, which is it's relevant. Like, basically this is asking, is this worth my time, or is this in the right time frame for me right now? Does it seem worthwhile, etc.? And the last portion of the SMART acronym is the T, which means it's time bound. So every so often you have to check yourself to make sure that you are accomplishing what you want to accomplish in the amount of time you want it to be accomplished. So essentially you're setting artificial deadlines for yourself, which I know for me is very helpful because if I don't set a deadline for myself, that means I can just, it doesn't really matter when it gets done. So with that out of the way, let's get into my personal goals for 2020. So related to this podcast, I want to be able to potentially produce another podcast within the coming year. There will be more on that in a little while. I want to post on social media every day. I have been great about that recently, and I want to reach as many people as possible, so please encourage people to go follow my social medias at ethan.t.hewlin and at True Stories Pod on Instagram. Shameless plug, I know, but that's what you got to do. And so that way more people can hear what I have to say, hear what my guests have to say, and we can spread the message of normalizing mental health and making sure it is just as important as physical health for everyone. Another goal I have is to get, I'm going to get up to 15 patrons this year. So if you are not already supporting me on Patreon, go to patreon.com/truestoriespod to become a patron. And I guess now is as good a time as ever to plug the various tiers. So at the $1 tier, the moral support tier, you'll just I'll just be grateful that you're choosing to support me financially. Whatever you can give helps. At the $5 tier, the Try Hard tier, you get access to the Discord server. Discord, from my experience, has been a pretty great way to connect with people at home and abroad, so I would highly recommend that one. At $10, you have the Storyteller tier, which means you get unedited episodes, end of episode shoutouts, and everything from the previous two tiers. And then finally, at $20 a month, is the Silver Tongue tier. That is where the bonus audio drama content is going to be. You can guest on the show if you want, and everything else in the tiers I just mentioned. So I did not expect to do the ad read this early, but here we are. That being said, let's just move on to some of my goals for 2020. As of right now, I'm going to let you guys go behind the curtain, and I am currently struggling to find a way to pay for my future education, which is really weighing on me, and I frankly don't know where to go. I just don't. And so I'm trying to find ways to achieve that goal because education is important and I'm going to need it if I want to get a career in the future. And just that weight on my shoulders has been weighing me down, so I want to raise enough money so I can pay for the following school year in 2020, whether that's by scholarships or other means. My second main goal is for my girlfriend and I to have stayed together for 2 years. October 18th is our anniversary, and we've been together for a little over a year, probably at the 14-month mark-ish. And I'm not going to say it's been easy, because it hasn't. But I'm just really glad she's in my life, and I don't see her going anywhere anytime soon. But I want to make sure that we stay together. So, Sienna, I know you're listening. We can do it. So with all that out of the way, how do you put that into practice? Like, what are some things that you can do? Well, I can only give you what's helped me, but I hope it works for you too. So what I've found is not putting a reminder in my phone, but an alarm has been helpful. Like, I have an alarm for when I need to go to work out. I have an alarm for when an alarm for anything that's important, because a reminder you can just get rid of, but an alarm you have to be intentional about it. And a lot of what keeps people back from accomplishing their New Year's resolutions and fulfilling them is mostly they don't have a way to fit it into their schedule. At least I don't think they do. What I'll say is this: you have time for what you make time for. And here's what I mean by that. You have to make time for the things that you want to be important. For example, I work out 4 times a week. And that's why I have that alarm in my phone, so that at 2 p.m. on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, I will go work out. And I have to consciously make the decision to silence the alarm, but by doing so, I have been alerted to the fact that, oh, this is the time that we're supposed to do this thing. And the same goes for pretty much anything else. Like, you make time, whether you think you do or not, to eat, to sleep, to go to work, to go to school. You're all making time for that. And by extension, you're saying, this is important to me. Another thing that I found very helpful is making lists. And by extension, making plans. Because I am very much a list-based person. I don't do well without some sort of grounded plan. Like, without a list, I just kind of flop around like a fish out of water. And I've experienced a lot of that within the past few months. And it's, frankly, time's up for me. I need to get my act together and make a list of things I need to do, because without that, I'm just going to flounder around and freak out, as I've been prone to do. Another thing you can do is have someone or multiple people who are keeping you accountable. For example, my dad will text me periodically, Ethan, have you done this? Ethan, have you done that? And while it is annoying, it puts me back on the right path for what I need to do and get my priorities in order. And, as much as I hate it, I know I need to do it, which at times can suck, frankly. And it's really more about me not willing to confront the thing than actually doing the thing itself. It's more of a me thing. And I don't think I'm alone in that. So let me know in some way what that experience is like for you. I'll link my social media to the end of the show, don't worry. Because accountability is important. Whether it's from your significant other or a good friend, or in my case, a parent, accountability is important, because if you just kind of go through without any accountability except from yourself, that's awesome and good for you for being very self-motivated. But I know it doesn't always work like that for some people, which, going back to something I've said before, having those significant relationships is very important. So to wrap it all up, what do you need to do to keep your New Year's resolutions this year? You need to keep them smart, and remember what all of that means. You need to
have a good way to remind yourself. You need to surround yourself with good people, and you need to make sure your priorities are in order. Because without a vision, without a game plan, without a roadmap, I can keep going with these map metaphors, but I'm going to stop here. You're going to go off the trail, and you're not going to end up where you want to be. I know, at least for me, that's definitely been the case. This will be a bit shorter of an episode, mostly because I am tired, and I don't really want to edit very long. And before we wrap up, I want to give a special shout out to some very special friends of mine over at the WBNE Podcast Network. This podcast network just launched at on New Year's Day. There are several shows on there that are all equally amazing. I tweeted about them a little while ago. The creators of these shows have really inspired me in a lot of ways, and I'm sure they would appreciate it if you go ahead and go give them some love. So I'm going to list off a few that have really impacted me as a person, and also just meeting the hosts of those shows online and sometimes in real life. I'm going to give a shout out to Tyler Carlin and Ethan Nedchill of the Bacon, Eggs, and Movie Lovers podcast, Ini Fuenmayor and Becca Eddowes of Sincerely Us, and Valerie and Casey Winters of Hello From Elsewhere. So those three and many others are available on WBNE right now. So please go check them out. They're a bit lighter than this, so you can get a break from all the heavy stuff that I bring on. And all that to say, thank you once again, listeners, for tuning into True Stories of a Tryhard. You can find me on Instagram at ethan.t.hewlin. You can find me on Twitter at etphonehome. Those are zeros and the E's are threes. You can find the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at True Stories Pod. I'll be back with more stories next week. So until then, this is Ethan Hewlin, signing off.